Thinking sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply.
What?
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hello there. Welcome to Thinking Sideways, the hard-hitting podcast that finds out stuff that nobody else can figure out. I'm Joe, joined by...
Oh, Devin.
Steve.
Sorry, we went the opposite way.
Yeah, we got to mix it up sometimes.
Ah.
Yeah, we don't want people to think there's some particular order.
I also realized that I literally cannot do the intros. Every single episode we have from the last month and a half, I'm just like, Devin, I don't know what we're doing anymore.
Who are we talking
What's
to?
going on?
I know.
Where am I?
What's the name of our podcast?
I don't know.
This week, we're solving yet another mystery. And this is a fairly well-known one, but not as well-known as some of the really well-known ones.
I didn't know about it.
You didn't know about it?
No. Did you know about it?
No.
Yeah.
No.
See?
I had no idea how I found out about it, to tell you the truth.
German. You know everything German.
Yeah, I don't remember. But anyway, so somehow we got wind of this, and it's kind of mysterious, and so we thought we'd solve it. Just so, all the next of kin can, move on with their lives. So, yeah, and so, yes, this does unfortunately involve somebody dying. A lot of our mysteries seem to involve people dying. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm going to non-death stories
Yeah.
for a while.
That's right. You're going to positive, uplifting, kind
Yes.
of fuzzy, warm.
Kittens and bunnies.
Yeah. So that's we go with that. I'm going to stick with death. So this is a case that's called YOGTZE-Fall, and let me spell that out: YOG'TZE.
YOGTZE!
YOGTZE, exactly. I know. It kind of reminds you of that.
Yeah.
So anyway, this happened back in 1984 in Germany. There's a guy named Günther Stoll who had a case of paranoia.
A big old case of paranoia.
Yeah, kind of. So prior to his death, he would speak to his wife about them, and he talked about them, meaning people who tended to kill him.
Them.
Yeah, that them. He never said who exactly they were, but yeah, there were apparently people out to get him.
And what was his profession again?
He worked in the food industry. He was like a food technician or some sort of technician.
Was he
in a food
working
factory.
at the time of his
No,
death?
he was unemployed at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, probably, and actually, seriously, if there are people out to get you, do you want to be working in any sort of factory where they could shove you into the machinery?
No.
Yeah, I know, seriously.
Definitely
Gunter Burger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, better to get a job at a 7-Eleven, like the graveyard shift.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot safer.
Soylent Green is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, I'm not sure. Nobody's ever actually interviewed his wife to find out how exactly hard it was to live with this guy. He's always raving on about them. But maybe there really were people out to get him, because actually in the end he did die. So
Kind of mysteriously, right?
yeah, kind of a little bit mysteriously, yeah. On October 25th, 1984, around 11 p.m., he was at home with his wife, and he mentioned them again, and then suddenly shouts, "Jetzt geht mir ein Licht auf."
Yes, of course,
Yes,
yeah.
which means now I've got it in German, of course. So, and then he writes down 6 letters on a piece of paper, and the letters are, again, YOG'TZE, YOGTZE. And also it's noted that the third letter, the G, could also be a 6. So there's a little bit of ambiguity there.
So he's got a little bit of sloppy handwriting.
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
yeah.
So they think that the connection could be the horizontal bar on the G could have been meant to connect to make a 6 instead of just floating there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a little weird when I read that at first. I was just trying to make sure.
Some people make their G's kind of the same way they make their
6s.
They just do a little down thing.
Because I'm guessing he wrote this all in capitals.
Yeah, apparently.
Because that's the only way the G would become a 6, is if it was a capital G.
But somebody makes a 6 like this, or they make a G like that, right? I know that our listeners can't see what I'm
What Devin
doing.
is drawing is you start at the top, you draw to the left and down in an arc, and then you come up to the mid
Which is
on
the
the
only
upper
way
right.
I've ever seen
so
anybody
you've made
write a
kind
6.
of a J shape,
Yeah.
and then you're saying they go to the left a little, back to the right, and then down to add
So some
that
people
horizontal
do
bar.
those kind of G's or like a 6.
Yeah.
It could be.
Yeah. So anyway, who knows? Probably a license plate number. Yeah.
It does kind of look like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's so it's Nobody knows what it means. Apparently, right after he wrote them down, he crossed them out.
So he didn't have it.
Or he did, but he wanted to make sure that nobody else could have it.
So they wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He might have been working on some sort of word puzzle, too. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, so, YOG'TZE, I don't know. So nobody's ever been able to decipher the meaning of these particular words. So anyway, right after that, he left the house and went to a pub in Wilnsdorf. Apparently, it was his favorite drinking hole. And he ordered a beer, and then he fell off his bar stool backwards and hit his head. According to witnesses there, he lost consciousness briefly, and they also said that he wasn't drunk. That was apparently his first beer of the night. And apparently he didn't get to drink because he left right after that, too.
And he was unconscious for a couple of moments?
Yeah, he lost consciousness, apparently.
So, and then they let him get in his car and drive away.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Wait, well, I'm just trying to place this in my head. And I've seen people fall off chairs or fall off stools before, and I'm trying to think. Well, did he just pitch backwards and fall flat to the floor, or did he hit a table or a chair on his way down? We don't know that. I'm guessing
the accounts are sketchy. Yeah, I mean he could have fallen backwards.
It was a bar full of people drinking.
Yeah,
I mean he could have fallen straight over backwards or sort of to the sides and smacked his face or against a table or God knows what. But
I was just thinking that falling flat, you're not going to hit your head as hard as if you hit a table or chair on the way down. If you think about it, your body takes the inertia and then your head bounces off the ground if you fall flat. But if you fall and hit something on the way down, all that inertia is at that contact point.
Unless
it's going to hurt.
Unless the reason he fell was because he became unconscious.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
He lost consciousness prior and fell backwards because his body just went limp.
That's a great idea because I was just presuming that he was stone cold sober and sitting up and for some reason lost his balance. But if he's I hadn't.
I cracked the case, you guys.
Yeah, okay.
I cracked it wide open.
I'm suddenly interested in this story. Let's keep going.
Okay, well, follow us on Facebook. No, just kidding. All right, so let's continue with the story here. So after he recovered his senses, he woke up. He left the pub. Apparently, didn't drink his beer and drove away in his Volkswagen. And he showed up a few hours later in his childhood neighborhood, which is called Heigerzielbach. I think Heigerzielbach.
And do we know where that was in relation to this bar that he was at? Like if it was hours away, or if he just disappeared for hours and it was
about 15 minutes.
So he was gone for a while.
He was gone for a couple hours.
He was missing for a couple hours.
Yeah. Well, maybe he went to other bars and fell off his bar too. I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and it might have been too. I mean, so he shows up at this woman's house in his childhood neighborhood, as I said, of the unpronounceable name. And he went to this house of this woman that he'd known from his childhood, who by this time was a fairly elderly person. But you don't know. I mean, she might have been the only one that came forward. Maybe he spent that whole 2 hours knocking on doors in other houses in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well, it's a weird, unaccounted time.
Yeah, but
it's a couple of hours that he disappears.
Yeah.
And if he's just clocked his head,
who knows?
For all we know, he could have just been driving around lost.
And I'm sorry, I should have asked this question earlier too. Do we know how old he was?
You know, I found no record of exactly how old he was. I had the impression that he was in his mid-30s.
Okay, yeah. I was just, again, like a 70-year-old guy passes out versus a middle-aged dude passes out. It's just a difference in my brain. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Don't be sorry. Ask all those questions.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, so anyway, we don't know what happened, what he was doing. He might have gone to other pubs and hung out. I mean, maybe he went and saw a movie.
But he goes to see this woman.
Right, he shows up at 1 a.m. at this old lady's doorstep. He'd known her since he was a kid and wanted to talk to her, but she wouldn't let him in because of the late hour, and so she basically convinced him to go home to his wife.
She probably thought he was drunk at 1 o'clock in the morning,
probably.
randomly showing up at the house.
It is a little random. It's gonna make you feel a little,
a little weird,
a little edgy. Yeah, be a little weird, creepy.
Yeah.
Before he left, he said that he told her that a horrible incident was going to take place sometime soon.
Oh.
Didn't say what.
Ominous.
I know. A couple hours go by, a couple more missing hours. We don't know where the hell he was. He shows up. This time he's about 100 kilometers from his last location. 2 truck drivers were driving down the Autobahn. They discover a Volkswagen Golf crashed in the ditch next to the Autobahn. And both of them testified to having seen a person in a lightly colored jacket walking near the car.
Independently of each other, right?
Yeah.
On their own. They weren't questioned together?
This I don't know. All I heard is that they testified.
Oh, I thought I read that it was independent accounts. Both of them said, yeah, no, I saw somebody in a light-colored jacket. And the other person said, oh, yeah, no, I saw somebody in a colored jacket.
Oh, okay. No,
that was a coherent sentence.
Yeah, that was totally coherent. No, yeah, you might be right. I don't remember that, but when we were researching these things, we wind up reading a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah,
and
that's
sometimes
true. I thought it was independently of each other, which is, of course, lends more credence.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, so anyway, they see this person in a lightly colored jacket. They run to the nearest. They have those emergency phones on the highway, whatever.
In the 80s.
Yeah, in the 80s.
Before
obviously.
I was born.
Yeah, obviously not too necessary now, but they run to that. They call law enforcement, and then they go to the car, and there they find Günther Stoll naked in the passenger seat of his car.
Oh.
Yeah, he was barely conscious. He said that there had been 4 guys with him in the car, and those guys had, quote, beat him loose, unquote. I'm not sure what that means.
I believe that probably means they beat the holy out of him.
Yeah, sounds like.
That's the only way I can interpret that phrase.
Yeah. And so but I've read other accounts too that say that he didn't say that. He just said that there were 4 guys and then they had all taken off. There's two versions of that.
Beat him loose as in shook him loose and left him behind?
Yeah, they just take.
That could be another interpretation of beat him loose. They shook him loose and ran away without him.
Could be, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to understand what this phrase could mean.
I guess it could also just be like weird translation, right?
Could be weird translation.
I mean, German to English is kind of a weird.
And that was I just got to say this. I know this is a little late in the episode to say this, but that was probably the hardest part about reading this or researching this. Is that the majority of the articles are in German, and so when you're reading them translated, they don't come through exceptionally well every time.
Yeah.
So it makes it you question what you're reading, not for the validity of it, but for the correct word usage in it.
Oh yeah.
Well, and it's just hard. I mean, English is kind of a complicated language, as some of us know. So, people who are not native speakers or translation software often use words in a kind of weird way that we wouldn't recognize for.
Yeah.
It's totally
every language has a lot of euphemisms, and we use them all the time without even realizing that literally what we're saying doesn't make sense.
Literally, we use them literally all the time.
I mean, like beat the bush. I'm gonna go beat the bush looking for my cat. It's like, what the hell does that mean? It's like it makes no sense.
What did the bush do to your cat?
yeah. And
so beat him loose could mean.
There's a number of ways that could go.
Yeah.
Just from the way it's written.
Yeah.
Let alone what it could have actually been.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, again, this is like, been all over the internet. It's been told, retold, cut and pasted, and distorted, and so who knows? But there were 4 guys. The drivers asked Günther if those men were his friends, and he said no. And the ambulance showed up, carted him away, but he died in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. Yeah. So
he was pretty severely injured.
Oh, yeah, he was. And it turns out, guess how he got injured? He got
beating.
He got run over by a car.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he was run over by a car.
He wasn't in a car accident. He was run over by a car?
Yeah, he was run over by a car. So the police, they investigated, and the forensic examination of his body showed that he had been run over by a car or a truck or something. But he'd been actually run over or hit by a car.
Ow.
And he was injured. They concluded he'd been injured before the crash. They hypothesized, because I don't know exactly how they could have known this for a certainty, but they hypothesized he must have been run down elsewhere and then put back in his car in the passenger seat, and then somebody drove him to that location.
I guess you could know by what his injuries were. I mean, there are injuries you get by being in the passenger seat of a car when it is in a crash.
With or without a seatbelt, certain things are gonna happen.
Yeah, versus like getting hit by a car, there are other injuries, and then other things like if you can tell if somebody's got a broken bone and they've been moved, since that if that bone broke that way and that's fine, or that broke that way and then they've moved that person a bunch of times, the way that blood settles, things like that.
There's lots of things that can
so
tell.
I believe them that that he got hit and was then put in
And then put in the car. He got hit. He got
But
run over and then put in the car.
That's weird. And then the car was crashed in a ditch, right?
Yeah, the car was crashed in the ditch next to the Autobahn. So, yeah, that's kind of mysterious. And there was a part, did I mention that he was naked when they found him?
Oh.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the odd bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
So he was naked. They concluded that he was naked when he got run over by the car.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he wasn't stripped naked afterwards for, like, evidence reasons.
Yeah.
He was naked before.
He was enjoying the night air.
Yeah, he was going on a little frolic, apparently.
And it was October?
Yeah.
In
late
Germany?
October.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. So, well, you know, it's kind of weird, but maybe he liked driving around naked. Who knows?
There are folks that do that.
Yeah.
I guess that's probably true.
Yeah, so as far as the police investigation went, they didn't really turn up much else. So they managed to find some drivers who had been going down that particular stretch of the Autobahn around that time of night, and a few of them apparently reported seeing a hitchhiker pretty close to that spot where he was found.
Before or after the crash, they don't know.
Yeah, it's like, you know.
It could have been
they don't know.
after.
It could have been after. It could have been before. Yeah, but they saw a hitchhiker hanging out down there. But the hitchhiker and the guy in the light jacket were never identified. And so it's one of them cold cases, which, you know, the world is called upon Team Sideways to solve. Yeah.
Team Sideways.
Yeah, so you guys have any theories?
Oh, man. There's so many weird things in this.
Well, go ahead and run. I have a couple of possible thoughts on this, but let's hear what you've got.
I mean, it kind of feels like he was suffering a psychotic break of some kind.
No, could be.
Right? You know, it was kind of an extended psychotic break, but perhaps he lost consciousness and suffered a concussion when he, you know, fell over backwards. He was already in a paranoid kind of state. He drove around. He's got these lost hours. You know, it's totally possible that, I don't know, I guess in my world, in like TV land, right, the way that this went down is he was suffering the psychotic break. He went to see his old friend. He said something horrible is going to happen. He started to drive home, pulled over and was like, no, I can't drive home. For whatever reason, stripped naked, was walking down the highway, maybe got hit by a drunk driver or, you know, a group of kids or whatever. So they were like, oh, crap, we got to get him someplace. They load him into his car, start driving him, but they're drunk. So they run off the road again and then bail because why would you stick around for that? You know, but there are just so many different you know, on the other hand, like maybe the Men in Black came to assassinate him or whatever Germany's
maybe they really did.
equivalent of that is, you know, he did a little premonition that something awful was going to happen. I don't know if it was to him or elsewise.
Well, but that's also kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Oh, absolutely it is. Yeah. Yeah,
when you
say
expect
something's
bad going to happen, you start making bad decisions.
Yeah, like walking naked down the Autobahn.
Yeah, that's an interesting choice to make. Yeah, he and by the way, if you're gonna murder a guy and fake sort of a car accident, then stripping him naked and putting him in the passenger seat doesn't strike me as a very effective way to do it. So
no, but if you like had your DNA all over his clothes, I mean, but the thing that I don't know how they determined that he was naked when he got hit.
They probably found skid marks on his skin. I don't know.
I feel
tire marks.
Yeah.
Actually, car tires make pretty definitive marks on the human body. I mean, that's a lot of weight to roll.
Although I guess it just seems like that's the sort of thing that can happen through clothes just as easily as it can on skin.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely.
You know, so I don't know how they could determine that it was, you know, naked versus not. But fine. But like, how do you convince a man to strip naked? Do you say,
well, if you're a hot chick, it's pretty easy.
So here's my question. Nowhere in any of the reading did I come across anything that said if they checked his blood alcohol. Did either of you see that?
I found zip about that.
Okay, so the way I'm looking at this, he fell off his bar stool and he clocked his noggin somehow. So he's in an altered state and he disappears for a couple of hours and then he shows up at this lady's house and then he disappears for a couple hours later till they find him. I have known people who have banged their head and then decided in an altered state that they need to go get a drink. And then, of course, they do some weird stuff because they're not in a rational frame of mind.
Yeah.
So I could just see this guy, kind of loopy, go into a different place and getting another beer.
Yeah.
And getting pretty toasted, and then going to see this lady. She doesn't say if he seemed intoxicated or not from the accounts
no
that
mention of
no mention of
that I
this.
know of.
Okay, so let's just say that he was a little buzzed. He sees her. Oh, okay, I got to get out of here. Well, where should I go? Oh, well, I'll go to this place down the street. And he gets another couple beers. He meets a couple of guys. They're all having a good time. Closing time comes around. They've got to go. And he's like, oh, I've got a car. Don't worry about it. And they're goofing around, and let's say that he's like, oh, you know what'd be hilarious is if I did this, and I'm just going to strip my clothes off.
Yeah, I know.
And then, gets hit by a car. And then we fall back in line with what Devin was saying is that he gets hit by the car. They're like, oh, crap. We got to get this guy to the hospital. Put him in the car. Guy who's driving is a little loaded. Wrecks the car. And they all go, not being here.
Yeah.
Not it. I'm out of here. You tell. And the guy who's in the light jacket wandering around, he's the last one left, the guilty party who has to explain what's happening, and then he chickens out and beats feet.
I guess, the other thing I could see happening, which I think I read a theory of in the reading somewhere, is that Stoll crashes his car.
Mm-hmm.
And in this altered state of mind is like, wow, I got to take all my clothes off for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Wanders out to the Autobahn, gets hit by a car.
Checking himself for injuries or something.
Says, okay, and is like going out there for help, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tries to flag a car down. He's drunk or concussed or whatever. Gets hit by a
Altered
car. It's cold. He says, hey, take me back to my car. And they're like, okay, we'll take you back to your car and we'll go call somebody. That's the light colored jacket guy takes him back to his car. The only problem I have with that is they don't mention if they found his clothes or not. They would have been around there.
Again, it'd be nice to see the original police file.
Yeah.
How many times have I said that?
Yeah.
Yeah, another theory is that the hitchhiker and the mystery guy in the light colored jacket are the same person. That's actually my theory. So maybe he was out there hitchhiking and he sees Günther come speeding down the Autobahn and then wreck his car, dump it into the ditch. And he goes over there to help out. And before he actually gets to the car, Stoll exits the car, either naked or he's clothed in any strips, runs to the Autobahn to get help, to flag down a car, and gets run over. The hitchhiker at this point goes over to Stoll and says, oh my God, what can I do to help you? And Stoll, who's laying on the freezing cold ground because it's late October and he's naked, says, could you please put me in my car so I'm not freezing, so I'm not sticking to the ground?
Oh, I guess. I guess the other thing, right, is that so at this point, I know in Chicago or in Illinois they still have the emergency phones, and I think in Southern Oregon they still do.
A lot of
more
places
rural
still have
places
them.
they do. They're every
5 feet,
5 miles or something like
something
that, right?
like that.
So if he were right in the middle, this dude in the light colored jacket could have been going back to the one that was more south, and the truck drivers went to the north one. And he just was like, all right, well, there's truck drivers over there. They'll take care of it. I might be implicated for whatever reason. I might have a criminal history.
Yeah,
something.
this guy maybe didn't want to have a conversation with the police.
Yeah, so I'm just
whatever
going
reason.
to leave.
Yeah.
So I guess I can see that, but gosh.
Yeah, so that's a possibility.
Maybe he stole his clothes at the same time. Maybe he was,
Guys,
Maybe the
vagrant.
light colored jacket was Günther's.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe.
I guess it's also possible. The other thing I was thinking is that this is the 80s, and this woman was an older woman that he went to visit, right? Maybe she was ashamed to mention that he was coming on to her. Maybe he was. Maybe he was naked when he showed up at her house. Maybe.
You would think she would have mentioned something like
You
that.
would think that, but okay, so if she's an older lady, right, and it's the 80s, so she would have been, growing up in another time.
More conservative time.
Yeah, and if she'd known him growing up, she wouldn't necessarily want to harm his reputation.
Oh, that's possible.
She could have said,
that's possible she'd be covering for him. I can see that.
I didn't let him in the house. Why didn't you let him in the house? You knew him growing up, and he was clearly in distress. Why didn't you let him in the house? Oh, because he was naked? Oh, okay, that makes more sense. But do you say that to somebody, or do you say, oh, it was late, so I didn't let him in the house, and I told him to just go home to his wife?
Okay, let's stop for a second.
Yeah.
We've all known someone that we were interested in dating or having some kind of relationship with, and you go to their door and you're going to knock on their door, and it's utterly nerve-wracking when they're not expecting you. Mm-hmm. Now take your clothes off.
Okay,
Could you imagine how awkward and weird that would be for him and her?
Drunk and you have a concussion, and this woman was like your 18-year-old babysitter when you were like 8.
And it's your crush.
Right? And she was your crush from forever.
This,
You've
in
regressed
your
for whatever
adult brain,
reason.
this is how you show it.
You do the naked man.
That works every
naked
time.
Yeah, it works every time.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
No, it works 3 out of 4 times.
What is the naked man?
It's a TV show reference. It's fine. We'll talk about it later, Steve.
Okay.
I will teach you about the naked man.
Oh, you got to hear about the Naked Man, yeah. That reminds me about, I had this idea for a superhero. It's called Naked Man.
Nope.
Now he shows up at the crime scene and he goes to close with the criminal, you know, like Batman would, and the criminal just like drops somebody and says, "No, dude, it's okay. I'll go peacefully."
The naked man.
Yeah, Naked Man.
No.
No, stay back. I give up.
I give up. Nope, it's okay. I quit.
Nope.
I quit.
I did it.
Okay, yeah.
Boy, we are so off track.
Yeah, this is really off track.
All right,
yeah.
so that
Well, okay, so anyway, yeah, that sums up my theories anyway. So the hitchhiker puts him in the car, and then the truckers show up, and the hitchhiker who doesn't want to talk to the police figures, well, my job's done. I'm going to beat feet out of here. Mm-hmm. So it could all be.
There's another euphemism. Beat feet.
Yeah, beat feet. Exactly.
Once again, we've dropped so many in this episode.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When this gets translated to German, it is going to be so unintelligible.
I know. We're going to frustrate a lot of German speakers. It's great.
I have a friend who's a linguistics major, and she works in the business world, and she just texts me almost daily about really, we're using the term ramp up to talk about this, all the euphemisms that happen in the business world, but also just in English in general.
Oh, yeah.
She's fluent in 5 different languages, and, English is the one that does it the most. We use these weird terms for stuff that's just I don't know. If you aren't native.
It's fine.
But it's not even if you're not native, right? It's if you born in the wrong area. Southerners use words that we're just I don't know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. East Coasters, Midwestern, we use words that a lot of English speakers in this world have no idea. English, British English speakers.
Well,
to go on a tangent.
Yeah, that's very tangential, but it's
so
true.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So we'll just edit you out later.
Perfect.
Actually,
perfect. You edit me out all the time.
I guess it's time to tell you this. Yeah, we've edited you completely out of every episode.
Oh my God. Really?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm not a part of this show.
We just have you on the show because you always bring beer.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I knew you guys were using me.
Yeah, sorry about that. But keep bringing the beer. So anyway, you guys have any more theories? UFOs, black holes?
I don't.
I don't
guess,
either.
No.
The missing time, the one thing that sticks in my craw, again, euphemism, that sticks in my craw about the whole thing is just these weird lapses where he's unaccounted for several hours at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
20 minutes, a half hour where you don't know where somebody is as you're kind of plotting their day, that's no big deal. But when it becomes hours and he's in a relatively small area, really, really makes me wonder what he was doing.
Yeah.
And that's my hardest part is I was what were you doing,
He could have
buddy?
been doing anything. He could have gone to a movie. He could have gone to a porno shop. I mean,
he could have sat in his car and listened to the radio.
Gone for a drive. I go for a drive sometimes.
Yeah.
But I will say that as a ufologist. Ufologist. No, I mean
We back to that phrase.
We are a little bit.
That is not in the lexicon.
It is now. You're welcome.
I'm gonna
one of the things that people talk about with alien abductions is lost time time before time. But that's 9 times out of 10 that's somebody reporting I don't know, I was looking at the clock and then suddenly it was 4 hours later and I don't know where that time went. It's not
that happens to me all the time.
Hey, a drunk person was unaccounted for a couple of hours and then he died. Mm-hmm. It's much harder to kind of figure out what's going on with this sort of thing. And I guess, the only thing that would keep me from saying that it was something really malicious is that he was apparently cognizant enough to say there were 4 other people with me and no, they were not my friends. Mm-hmm. But if it was something malicious, right, you kind of feel like he would have said, he was definitely in the state of mind to have said, no, they were trying to kill me. I was murdered.
Prior to it, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I really don't know. I mean, because on the one hand, it's so they strip him naked, push him out in front of a car, scrape him up off the pavement, put him back in the car, take it somewhere else, and then deliberately crash the car.
It's hard to deliberately crash a car.
And I guess the only thing would be is that then they would have, if they were trying to make it look like he crashed his car and that's how he died, they would have drug him into the driver's seat.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Unless the truck showed up.
I guess that's true.
And they couldn't finish
Unless,
the
white
move.
jacket guy or light jacket guy was meant to drag him over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could be that, like your theory that he went to a bar and met some guys, and he was giving them a ride home and then crashed, and then, and maybe they're a little angry with him, so they strip him naked and shove him out in front of a car, and then grab him and put him back in the car. Well,
we are so far down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where it's just like a wide open rabbit hole.
We could sit here and theorize.
We could just conjecture all night,
and just keep going forever.
Yeah.
But I think I really do feel like it's more likely that he, for whatever reason, he was naked and definitely was drunk. People are more likely to do things like get naked when they're drunk. I don't know why.
Inhibitions go away.
Yeah. Maybe he really did wreck the car, really was out trying to flag down a car, forgot that he was naked, and somebody just didn't see him and ran him over. Mm-hmm. And then somebody came along and helped put him in his car so he wouldn't freeze, and then left. Something like that. It's not necessarily a supernatural or
I guess
totally scary thing.
To go on that, right, I'm going to say he drove his car into a ditch, for whatever reason, stripped naked, was, flagging down a car, got hit. This hitchhiker saw it happen, goes running to help him, jacks his clothes, because, for whatever
he's
reason.
unconscious.
Because, for whatever reason. I mean, like, people steal clothes all the time. If there's
but
just
are you going to steal bloody, torn up? Are you talking about jacked clothes that were already taken off of his body?
Yeah.
Naked?
Because he was hit when he was naked. He stripped before.
Okay. Yeah.
He gets
I was
hit.
thinking, like,
he goes and he's like, "Wow, there's
take
nice
them all
clothes."
off of him bodily.
He tries to help him. He's going to a different one. He sees the truck drivers pull up, and he's like, "You know what? They'll take care of it. They're great people. I'm gonna go." He's on the lam or whatever.
Yeah,
that's my.
That's possible. It is possible he jacked his clothes. Although, again, the information is sketchy. His clothes might have been in the back seat of the car.
Yeah, and we just never didn't hear about it.
Yeah, it just wasn't reported.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So if anybody out there knows, if you're the guy in the light-colored jacket, please contact us.
You ostensibly totally still alive.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
It's not that long ago. If you're the person if you're the hitchhiker, please give us a call. Also, find us on Facebook and like us. You can find us on iTunes. If you find us on iTunes, please give us a review. You can find us on Stitcher if you don't have time to download it to your iPod. You can just stream us on the go, or if you forget. If you want to send us an email, our email address is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. And our website is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. And you'll find our episodes out there also, so you don't need to go to pesky old iTunes if for some reason or another you're boycotting them or something.
Well, and we'll have the links on the website, of course.
Also, that's one of the benefits, too, is you'll have some cool
We'll probably use the ones
that
are in English this time.
No, we'll do one in German just to see what people are running.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
for our German listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
we go.
Do we have any email?
We do, actually.
We've got a lot of email. How did you decide?
I'm sorry. Do we have any email we want to read this week?
Well, that's the whole thing. If we can't read them all.
We totally have an email that I wanted to read this week because I actually got a big kick out of it.
All right, let's hear it.
This is from Crary, I believe is how you pronounce the name. And it says, I just listened to your awesome Polybius podcast.
Oh, no.
And there was a description of how most emulated ROMs are for home consoles, which I think is a common belief, but there's a huge arcade emulating community. Which
are we talking about like underground arcade communities? Because that must be the truth.
I didn't know this.
Oh, my goodness.
Which is pretty rad. So it gave us a couple of links here, which we'll post them. It's probably the easiest way to do it.
Maybe Facebook or something.
Something like that, yeah. But their MAME, M-A-M-E, is a program that emulates thousands of arcade games, and the ROMs are currently out there, but there's also the issue, and I'm paraphrasing here, but there's the legal issue
of
taking somebody else's game and reusing it.
But oh my gosh.
But
it's done a lot.
was offering this to us because, of course, I think that we went off a little bit about asteroids.
I know I did go off on ROMs for a really long time.
Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind downloading Asteroids. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, and so evidently that's where all the arcade games we want is at. And
my goodness.
Perry also said, well, thanks for an awesome podcast, which is great.
Oh, thanks, man.
I then had to reply back about the fact that I have a job and a relationship, and I eat regular meals, and I have things that I have to be at on a regular basis.
I don't have any of those.
And if I start going to this
Perfect.
website, I'm going to forego all of those.
So will you make sure to forward those to me? Because I literally have none of those right now. So perfect.
I want to see
Well, no,
those too.
you still have to show up here.
Well, okay, so I have one commitment a week.
And you got to do your research.
Okay, so I have like 1.5 commitments a week.
And then we have to edit you out.
Listen.
Yeah. Well, that's
I'm
not
just
on her
saying,
time,
email
though.
this to me because I need this so bad.
I need it too, just for Asteroids and a couple others.
I can't keep going to ground control.
Oh, well.
That's expensive, yeah.
Yeah,
It
does
gets
get
real
expensive.
expensive.
Yeah.
Anybody know Ground Control is an arcade here in Portland? Actual arcade.
An arcade.
have
It's
got
a
everything.
bar arcade, though.
Yeah.
It's an over 21 arcade. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Maybe someday I'll host a little something there.
And they've got, God, what was the tank game that came out right after Asteroids? It was...
Tank?
No, it wasn't Tank. It was...
I know the one we've talked about. We talked about it in the
I forget it
previous
anyway, but
episode.
that was really cool too.
Yeah.
For the time. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
it was pretty crude by today's standards.
But no, I really like that email. That was really good
Yeah.
follow up.
Oh, yeah,
and
totally, yeah.
I can't go to this.
We're gonna
website.
have some fun.
I want to go to this
Yeah.
website
Send it to
so
me.
badly.
Please send it to me.
I'm jonesing and I can't do it. What else? I'm sorry. I was thinking about games. What are we
Yeah.
doing?
Nothing? Emails? That's
Nope,
it?
that was it. That's
did
all we
the
had at the
emails,
moment.
So,
That's all we
we're
care
pretty
about.
much we're pretty much done here. We can wrap it up. Any last thoughts?
Nope.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, me neither. My mind's a blank. Okay, well, bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.